In the 23rd year of Judah's king Joash, son of Ahaziah, Jehoaz, son of Jehu, became king over Israel and Samaria and reigned 17 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight and followed the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit. He did not turn away from them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel, and he surrendered them to the power of Hazael, king of Aram, and his son Benhadad during their reigns. Then Jehoaz sought the Lord's favor, and the Lord heard him, for he saw the oppression the king of Aram inflicted on Israel. Therefore the Lord gave Israel a deliverer, and they escaped from the power of the Arameans. Then the people of Israel dwelt in their tents as before, but they didn't turn away from the sins that the house of Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. Jehoaz walked in them, and the Asherah pole also remained standing in Samaria. Jehoaz did not have an army left, except for 50 horsemen, 10 chariots, and 10,000 foot soldiers, because the king of Aram had destroyed them, making them dust at threshing, like dust at threshing. The rest of the events of Jehoaz's reign, along with all his accomplishments and his might, are written in the historical record of Israel's kings. Jehoaz rested with his fathers, and he was buried in Samaria. His son Jehoash became king in his place. In the 37th year of Judah's king Joash, Jehoash, son of Jehoaz, became king over Israel and Samaria and reigned 16 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He did not turn away from all the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to commit, but he walked in them. The rest of the events of Joash's reign, along with all his accomplishments and the power he had to wage war against Judah's king Amaziah, are written in the historical record of Israel's kings. Joash rested with his fathers, and Jeroboam sat on his throne. Joash was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. When Elijah became sick with the illness that he died from, Jehoash, king of Israel, went down and wept over him and said, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." Elijah responded, "Take a bow and arrows." So he got a bow and arrows. Then Elisha said to the king of Israel, "Put your hand on the bow." So the king put his hand on it, and Elisha put his hands on the king's hand. Elisha said, "Open the east window." So he opened it. Elisha said, "Shoot." So he shot. Then Elisha said, "The Lord's arrow of victory. Yes, the arrow of victory over Aram. You are to strike down the Arameans in Aphek until you have put an end to them." Then Elisha said, "Take the arrows." So he took them. Then Elisha said to the king of Israel, "Strike the ground." So he struck the ground 3 times and stopped. The man of God was angry with him and said, "You should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck down Aram until you put an end to them. But now you only strike down Aram 3 times. Then Elisha died and was buried. Now Moabite raiders used to come into the land in the spring of the year. Once, as the Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a raiding party, so they threw the man into Elisha's tomb. When he touched Elisha's bones, the man revived and stood up. Hazael, king of Aram, oppressed Israel throughout the reign of Jehoaz, but the Lord was gracious to them, had compassion on them, and turned toward them because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was not willing to destroy them. Even now he has not banished them from his presence. King Hazael of Aram died, and his son Benhadad became king in his place. Then Joash, son of Jehoaz, took back from Benhadad, son of Hazael, the cities that Hazael had taken in war from Jehoash's father Jehoaz. Jehoash defeated Benhadad 3 times and recovered the cities in Israel.